feeling low and it's out of your control. You should know that I won't leave you. I'll stay beside you. I'm never letting you go. You've been lost and alone in the city lights, I know. But I will guide you home. Fight your battles, always by yourself. In the shadows, hear you cry for help. No matter the distance, I will always be there. No more inhibition.
Hello everybody, Cooper here. How is everybody going? We are here today going to be playing some Cricket Captain 2020. Once I just set everything up. Give me a yell if you are here, guys. Let me know if you're here in the chat. Just gotta put my fan on. I've got a drink. Kartik's here, how are you going? Hi bro, can you give me some tips on how to train bowlers, allocate roles to those bowlers? Find it really hard in ODI and T20. I will do that once we're into the game. We've got some first class stuff with Northamptonshire to begin. So once I've got the game in front of me, I can definitely help you out with that. So just stay around, bear with me, I will help. And the game has crashed in the background. So we'll just wait for a few more people to get in and then we'll get started, right? Hope that's okay. Anyway, while we wait for a few people to get in, how's your week been, Kartik? What's it, Monday or Tuesday today? I think it's Tuesday today. Had a good week so far? In the meantime, we will... Well, bro, how about you? Yeah, my week's been pretty good. Been recording lots of videos for not only my Cricket Captain series and my my Cricket 24 Steve Smith series. So yeah, been very busy with that. Doing lots of videos. I think I'm about... Also, till then, can you give me some tips about regen hunting? That I can do. Let me actually jump over to the game now. I want to go... We're going to have a black screen for a minute, so just bear with for 1 second, and then I'm going to turn my music down because it's way too loud in my headset. There we go. This should be... There we go. So we are using mods for this particular series, so I'll be modding the players myself to make them, decent. But what I've been doing in my cricket, my South Africa series, I'm not sure if you've been watching that or not, is we'll go to player records, for example, and we'll just go to all players. I know my good friend, James Plays Cricket. He's done a series of tutorial videos on how to play Cricket Captain. I've got a few on my channel as well. I think I made for last year's game. But what I generally do is I go by the second 11 stats. I find them very helpful. It's also very good for basing projecting forward who's going to be a very good player in the future. So if you go, for example, second 11 stats, you can see that a player like Steve Smith has a 96 average with the bat at 3-day level in the second 11. So we can say Steve Smith averages 62 with the bat in test matches in 2020. So roughly 96 with the bat will get you about 60 in test cricket on average. MS Dhoni averages 90 with the bat in test matches. He only averages a 38, but averages a 50 at 1-day level. I saw that video of James, but that second 11 stats always doesn't reflect first team performances. That's true. No player is perfect. And you won't know until you sign them, but they're the closest thing that we have for the regens, at least, because with the regens, there's in terms of first class cricket, 1-day cricket, 2020 cricket, they have no stats to go off. So we have to go off the next best thing, which is the second 11 stuff. So I won't spoil anything for my South Africa series, but as a general rule that I have, if I'm signing a player with no first team experience whatsoever, so typically a regen, if they have a batting average in the 3-day second 11 over 60, I give them a contract, if I can afford it, of course, because that way I think 60 plus is always very good, in my opinion. If you can get anything above that, so I just signed a guy, and we'll look at bowling as well in a second, what to look at. I just signed a guy who's got a 66 average. I think this is I'm in up to episode 20 odd in my recording, so by the time that you would have been up to, you wouldn't have seen him yet. But I just signed a guy who's got a second 11 3-day average of 66, I think. He's an all-rounder, and he's proven to be very good for me. So sometimes the 3-day, sometimes players outplay their 3-day second 11 average. Trying to think of a good example here. So you typically don't really get players up in this high range. You're more likely to go between 60 to 70 is typically what the game's going to throw at you, basically. So someone in the 73.28, I saw a regen that I signed. I didn't actually sign him, but I saw him. He came up in my youth intake. He was a 73 second 11 3-day average, but I didn't sign him because I just didn't need another opener. I had my spots filled. So that's generally what I look at with batsmen. I typically don't look at the 1-day and T20 averages. I find that the first class average, translate just fine. But what's important in the limited over stuff is aggression. I find is the most important thing. If you can get a player with either aggressive or very aggressive tendencies, you can do very well. Because in limited overs cricket, I was actually thinking about this in a video the other day. I didn't mention it, but it's all about building momentum in limited overs cricket. So if you can go, through the power play, not lose a wicket, and go at 6, 7, 8 runs and over, you can go and do a very, very good job going forward. Currently playing with Sri Lanka International, and I'm in 2030. There are a truckload of fast bowls, but my issue is how and whom to pick and how to assign roles. So is this just in limited overs cricket, or is this in test cricket as well? Because I can answer it, because I'm facing a similar problem at the moment as well. Because I just got this really good fast bowler he's 19, and he might be the best fast bowling prospect I've ever seen. So I've got other guys who've got hundreds and hundreds of test wickets, and I'm trying to squeeze him into the team, but I'm finding it difficult in who to leave out. So I'm having that same problem as well. But if we go to the bowling wise, and we'll go to the limited overs screen, for example, we'll go to bowling. So the best thing I look at, the three things I want to look at, I don't really look at wickets, because if you're good enough, you're going to take wickets. The three things that I look at is bowling average, strike rate, and economy. So yeah, I look at bowling average, strike rate, and economy. So if you can keep the runs down, if you can typically keep the runs down, if you have a low economy in your bowling stats, they're going to be quite a defensive bowler, I find. So you might want to set a bit more of a defensive field. They're sort of guys that you would, I'm trying to think of a good example. Dale Steyn's not a good example because he's more of a strike bowler. We'll go to one-day international stats. This will be easier. Like Rashid Khan, for example, he's not typically a strike bowler when you think about it, but he's more of a defensive bowler, keeps the runs down, and does take wickets. All three formats, but I find Test cricket to be quite easy in limited overs. I concede 350 whether I chase or bat. So it's likewise in T20. If you don't mind me asking, what kind of fields are you setting? Are you setting the same fields every game? Do you have a sort of a set plan? Or is it really just an all-round issue? Because I know, like, some bowlers. So, okay, here's a perfect example. Mitchell Starc has got a low strike rate, good bowling average, higher economy, so he's definitely going to be more of a strike bowler. So he's probably someone you want to give the new ball to. Whereas you got someone like, let's go down a bit further with Jofra Archer here. Even though he's... Jordan, welcome to the stream. How you going? I'm a legend. I'm glad you think so. I'm glad you're enjoying the content. I really appreciate the support that you do, commenting on my videos and stuff. So I'm glad you've made it to the stream, mate. I find field setting extremely boring, so I use the defaults. Personally, the defaults aren't bad. So we'll get into a game now. Now we've got a few people in, and I'll show you what I mean. I know it's not a one-day match, but the same principles can be applied to Test cricket as well. So we'll get into a match now. Are you guys familiar with the stream story so far up till this point? Or do I need to explain anything to anybody to catch up? So I know it is early days in the save file. We've only played a handful of games. So basically we've got, using mods, you can proceed, bro, all good. Alright, anyway, we've got our team, we're looking good, got our 4 youngsters, we're doing not too bad. Let's have a look at the conditions. It is going to be very good for bowling. It's our home game, it's a spinning pitch. I should probably, before I get into to answer your initial question, Kartik, do you set your own pitches or do you just set it to random? I wouldn't mind batting first actually in this one. Crap, I'm gonna bowl, that's fine. Okay. Now, initially I'm just thinking this through. Who do I want to... We got Zach Crawley and Bell Drummond, both of which are good players. Actually, he's not as good yet, so he's sort of not as good. He's a good limited overs player, but is quite... Oh, he's average aggression. But they got a decent lineup. This guy's about 48 years old, 44 years old. He's had a very long career. My cat has just started to join me. Trying to say if there are so many quality fast bowlers with good second 11 stats, so I use fast pitch bowling. That makes sense. Yeah, so I think I play, at the moment I'm playing four fast bowlers, and I've got a batting all-rounder who bowls leg spin, basically. That's my team setup at the moment. But with the fields, I know you had questions with the fields, so let's just pretend this is a one-day match. What I typically do for one-day matches, even if it's a power play or not, I always go ultra defensive field. That's like a given, and then if I need to change anything by default, you know, if they're playing a bit too hard, I try and look at the scoring areas in which they're scoring. So let's just say, for example, Zach Crawley, even in the power play, yes, I do. He's quite a strong leg side preference. So let's just say, for example, Zach Crawley is scoring a lot of his runs through the leg side. I'll put this, let's just test this out, see what happens. This can be fun. Let's just put the field ultra defensive for a first class match. Let's see what happens. I'm assuming we'll just choke them to death with the amount of runs we're not going to allow them to score. Yeah, we're going at 1.5 runs and over. And we've actually taken a wicket. That was not by design. We're on the board. Zach Crawley's gone for 7. Fairclough takes a nice catch. But what I was going to do... that's not what I want. If this chart can be very helpful, if you go, I'm trying to remember what button it is. What button is it? It's not that one. I can't remember. But if let's just say that you're scoring heavily through the leg side. Obviously, you're only allowed a certain amount of fielders on the leg side, but I would pack the leg side field as much as I possibly could. You know, let's just say you're scoring a lot through mid wicket. I might put in a sort of an extra. It's not whatever the extra cover equivalent is on the leg side. I would do that, plus also a deep mid wicket to sort of get them. Stop them from hitting in that area is what I would do. Similarly, if they're scoring heavily through the offside, you can pack the offside field, put in a deep point, backward point, and just stop the bleeding as much as you can. And because you'll find if you do that and still play quite defensively, the batsmen will eventually bore themselves to death. How much can I trust those players' descriptions? For instance, says Crawley is strong on the leg side, but that doesn't mean they're bad offside. True, it's just a preference. So they might, so it's just preferences. So they might say that they're a spin specialist, but that doesn't mean they're bad at facing fast bowling. It's just their preference. So yeah, it's just one of those things. Plain miss by Bell Drummond. But it's just, as I said, one of those things, you just sort of got to play around with it. Now, in terms of the bowling roles, so you said you had 4 fast bowlers. Who is your 5th bowler? So is it like a spinner or an all-rounder, or what's the deal? Because I can show you roughly what I do. I would jump over to my game on Cricket 23, Cricket Captain 2023, but I'm so far in the future that I don't want to spoil anything. So I would show you, but I don't want to spoil anything. Our combination is 3 out and out paces and 2 spinners. Okay. So what I generally do is, whoever your best fast bowlers are, let's just say it's a 50 over match. If it's for the first 50 overs, sorry, for the first 10 overs, your two best fast bowlers get 5 overs each. Regardless of how well they perform, I just like to get those 5 overs out of the way. So even if they are getting hit for 6-7 runs and over, I like to get those first 10 out of the way. Just the power play done. That way, you don't really have to think about it. Then I would, once the power play's done, that's when I typically bring the spinners on. And then you can sort of get to play around with this kind of thing. Also, if they're, when I said that Crawley, for example, is a strong leg side player, let's take the India squad, for example. Shami, Bumrah, Siraj, Kuldeep, Jadeja for my better understanding. Okay, so I would open with Shami and Bumrah. Siraj would be... I would open the bowling with Shami and Bumrah. They can get 5 overs each for the power play. Then for overs 11 to 20, I would go 1 fast bowler, 1 spinner. Let's just go Siraj and Jadeja, for example. So that gets us to the 20 over mark. So 4 of your bowlers would have bowled 5 overs each. Then I would bring on the second spinner and replace the fast bowler. And then I'd have 2 spinners bowl in the middle. So I'd bowl out one of the spinners. So whoever's got the 5 overs already, he bowls until he's completed his 10. And then I would take off the spinner, put on the opening bowlers again, in between overs 30 to 40. And then for the final 10 overs where they have the field restrictions and that, I would put on Siraj and Kuldeep for the final 10. And that way everybody gets 10 overs. You don't have to worry about giving overs to your bowlers. That's typically what I do, because I very rarely give an over away to one of my batsmen, unless I've completely messed up something and something's gone horribly wrong, like an injury or something, which does happen. But that's typically what I do. And we are doing a very good job at the moment. We are just keeping the pressure on Kent at the moment. 30 overs gone, 2 for 75. Is it okay to bowl out a spinner 10 consecutive overs? Yes, I do it all the time. I know we haven't played any one-day matches yet with Northamptonshire, but in earlier streams, I can't remember who the test series was against. We did a tour. Bowling in little spells is better. As long as the stamina bar doesn't get too low, you can really do whatever you want. I think because the stamina for the spin bowlers goes down a lot slower than it does for the fast bowlers, they can bowl longer spells. Like, I wouldn't bowl a fast bowler 10 in a row, because by the end of their 10 overs they're going to be exhausted, and so that last over is really going to be a struggle. But for a spinner, I wouldn't worry about it, because you can bowl a spinner, for example, in a test match. You can bowl them for a whole session, and that's when you'll start to struggle. So 10 overs I wouldn't even worry about. Pip has been really good so far. 10 overs, none for 19. Just have a sip of my tea for one little minute. But we are just doing a really good job of suffocating Kent at the moment. We're stopping the scoring, although they have scored 100 runs. That looks close, but I think it's hit him outside the line. Yeah, close though. Little edge. Do you have any other questions, Kartik? Oh, this is stumping. There we go. Leaning is gone. He's gone for 16 off 44. Pip is on the board. All of our bowlers have at least 1 wicket. That is good to see. But yeah, I'll see if we can find a one-day match, then we can play it together. How to find what is the best role for a bowler. Like, how can I find that a bowler is better at bowling at the death or opening the bowling? So for bowling at the death, you typically want someone who's going to keep the runs down. It depends on what you're looking for. So Sanderson, for example, not that economical in a 20 over match. Let's just say there's 2 overs left in the opposition batting team need 20 runs. So if you, let's just say his average out, his round up, sorry, his economy is 9. So you want someone who is going to, ultimately, the likelihood of them conceding 20 is low. So we want to find someone. We have played some 20 over matches. We haven't played any one-dayers, that's what it was. So Pip, for example, he's only played the 5 games, but his economy is 6.32. So he is someone that you could probably bowl at the death. In terms of someone that's an opening bowler, you want someone with a really good strike rate. If we go back to Sanderson, his strike rate is 16.9. That's probably really good, and especially in the power play, when you're more likely to go for runs, getting someone who can take a wicket for you is probably someone with the good strike rate. So I would go with Sanderson in this example for opening the bowling. Obviously he's a fast bowler, which helps. And I would go with Pip in the death is what I would do in that example. So those are the main stats that I would look like. There's no special attribute or anything, at least that I'm aware of, that says that one bowler is better than another in a certain situation. As we pick up another wicket. Kent are 5 for 126. We are bowling very nicely on this spin-friendly wicket. As you can see, Pip's bowled 18 overs in a row, and he's been absolutely fine. We did have the session break, obviously over that, but we'll probably take him off now and give Muzza Rabbani another run. See what he can do. That's out. That's gone. Very good. That's hitting the top of middle. Billings is gone. Sam Billings is here. Regarding line length, that the death stays the same, or you go for wider or Yorker lines like in real life. I've learned not to really play around with this too much. I sort of, because there's not, there is such a thing as too much overcorrection. So if you are bowling, let's just say you do like really pitch it up and really go for middle stump, for example, like, oh, the field will change. That's interesting. Didn't realize that was a thing. But I generally just leave it to the default because that's always worked for me. And I've pumped thousands of hours into this series. Yeah, dating back to Cricket Captain 2010 was my first one, which I played as a kid. So I would always just stick with the default. That's just my preference. Apart from the fields, you can change the aggression and defensiveness depending on how desperately you want a wicket. But yeah, it's like you've got 2 philosophies. You can either, in limited overs cricket, you can take 10 wickets, or you can keep them to less runs than you've got. So it depends on what philosophy you want to play with. Either one is, there's no right or wrong answer. That's what's so beautiful about cricket, I suppose. But I believe in consistency, so I would bowl the exact same as I did during overs 1 to 49 as I would in the 50th over. because I wouldn't want to mess around with it too much. But that's just my personal preference. And it's worked out pretty well for me so far. So, yeah. Still struggling. Mizurabani's going at over 4 runs and over. We don't have a slip in place. This kind of field I wouldn't normally typically go with. But Mizurabani is quite an expensive bowler. Yeah, 3.42 at first class, going at over 9 at T20 level. Yeah, this is a signing I typically wouldn't make. Thanks, bro. All my questions have been answered. That's all good. I hope everything made sense. But yeah, as I said, I do have a series of tutorials called the Cricket Captain Academy. There is a playlist in my channel. So if you want to watch a few more videos, I go over all sorts of stuff in those videos. One of my thoughts on the India-England series and Australia-New Zealand. Australia-New Zealand is going to be close, a lot closer than people think, probably. So I think New Zealand, this is the best team that they've had for a number of years. Obviously won the Test Championship, the edition before Australia did. And Australia still, trying to figure out some things. Obviously still a very strong team, coming off a loss to the West Indies a couple of weeks ago. So anything can happen, really. It's a wicket. And India, England, I'm not really surprised about how it's gone. India's always a very hard place to tour. And they're, I think, 17 tests in a row they've won at home. As Pip picks up another wicket, that's very good. But I think England's spinners have been phenomenal. Considering they've played barely any first-class cricket, let alone Test cricket before. They had Rayan Ahmed for a while, Bashir. Pip's getting wickets, jeez. 344, he's looking good. And Tom Hartley, he's been really good as well. Give Westbrook a bowl, why not? Go the double spinners at the moment. New ball, I'll leave it for a little bit, just while I got the spinners on. But I think India, deserving winners of the series. There's obviously still a test to go. But yeah, I think it'll be good, entertaining the fifth test, and then Australia, New Zealand. Is it a 3-test series or a 2-test series? I think it's a 3-test series. But if I had to predict, I think Australia will win 2-1 or 2-0, depending on how many tests there are. But yeah, they haven't toured New Zealand in 6 or 7 years, I believe. Take the new ball now. If my memory is correct. Come on, let's take this last wicket. How good is that T20 league in New Zealand? I don't know a great deal about it, I'll be honest. That's out. Finally got the last wicket. 268, decent total. Yeah, I don't really know that much about it, other than what I've played in New Zealand on Cricket Captain. That's basically all I know about it. But yeah, hard to say, because I don't really pay attention to the New Zealand domestic leagues. Is it James or me that's from New Zealand? No, I'm from Australia. James is from New Zealand, so he and I are friends, but and we've known each other on YouTube for about a couple of years now, I'd say. But no, he's from New Zealand. I'm from Australia. But no, that's actually the first time we've been confused for each other, which is funny. 3 overs left in the day. I'm just going to shut up shop and pray that nothing happens. Oh god. Fairclough, he's in bad form. He's just been bowled for another duck. That's like his 4th duck of the season. 1, 2, 3, 4 ducks. He is in terrible form. You know, both of our channels just got mixed up. That's okay. I don't take it personally. Got 1 over left. Last ball of the day. Jeez. We're 2 for 2. We've lost both our openers. Great. Fantastic. That was a terrible way to end the day. But we've now got one of our premier batsmen in. Emerson Westbrook. He's had a good start to his test career. Got 150. He's got a couple of 50s at first class level, so we'll see how he goes. He's also sort of an average aggression, I think, from memory. Yeah, average aggression. But we'll see how he goes. I just wanted to sort of get through the first portion of the day to get some runs on the board. I'd like to not lose any wickets for the first session. And we've just lost a wicket. No, we haven't lost a wicket. It hasn't carried. Let's look at that again. No, I definitely thought that was out. No, that's okay. Jeez. Oh, Levi. Good lord. Going quite defensively at the moment. I wouldn't mind scoring our runs a little bit faster, although the pitch is quite bouncy and the pitch is turning. Stevens to Levi. Lovely sort of square drive behind point for 4. More of what we need. A few more boundaries just to get us going. Not out. It's hit outside the line. But I have found that Cricket Captain... That's a good shot. Is... I think it's a lot easier this year. I don't know. Because I think with the Bazball stuff that they've added, it makes it a lot easier for people to score. What are your thoughts on that, Kartik? So I know that my players have greatly developed from Bazball. In terms of scoring quickly, I like to score my runs quickly in Cricket Captain, so I might put the aggression up a little bit. It's a little bit too short. Pulled away for 4. And we'll get another boundary in the over. Why not? Is the Bazball stuff only for test for all format? My understanding is that it's for all formats, because I've definitely gotten some crazy scores on Cricket Captain in all formats. Where are you up to in with my Cricket Captain series, if you've been watching it? Levi's going along at a good tick at the moment. Westbrook is not far behind. He's off to a good start. A couple of boundaries to end the over. Might just notch it up a little bit. See if we can get Bazball going in 2020. That is Levi's 50, if I'm not mistaken. Or is this it here? Bowled for 49. I jinxed it. Got us through that little period. Wally Bunker is another one of our premier batsmen. Although he's not had as good a start as you're beginners of the game, and I use very aggressive players across all formats and set the aggression according to my liking. Can you explain how Bazball works in this game? Sure. So typically, my understanding of Bazball as a theory is about eliminating dot balls and scoring as many runs as you can in a shorter period of time. That's my understanding of how Bazball works. Now, what Cricket Captain has done is allowed you to increase the aggression bars. And let's just say I'm playing a test match, for example. And once a player is settled like Westbrook is, allowed you to score at more of an aggressive pace and not get out as frequently. That's my understanding of how it works. I could be wrong. But my understanding is, and I sort of believe this across all formats of Cricket Captain, not just the most recent edition, is that for batting, it's all about getting settled. Once you are in and you are settled, you can basically do anything you like. But the hardest part is getting settled, which, I mean, I shouldn't say you can do anything you like, because that's not entirely true, but you can do more things when you are settled. But that's like batting in real life. When you are comfortable and you've got runs on the board and you've got your confidence with you, you're going to feel more comfortable and you're going to play your shots a bit more. So when this bar is a bit more settled, you've probably seen me around the stream playing around with this little bar a little bit. So I started them down here and a bit more defensively. The settled bar will build up over time, and then once a player is more settled, I might put them up to here. So the TRPO is targeted runs per over. So this is a prediction of how many runs will be scored. How that works for T20, because it doesn't matter whether you are settled or not. True. T20, I always start like this. Sorry, like that. And then when you're settled, I go up the extra knot. Because obviously T20, you want to be going from the off, but that's the risk with 2020. So the Bazball, I think it allows you, once you are settled, it allows you to score more freely, is the point I'm trying to make. We want the highlights on medium. But yes, you're absolutely right. In T20, it doesn't matter. I thought that was missing leg stump. Ooh. That's close. Bunk has to go for 8. Rosington's to the crease. And like I said before, with the preferences, it certainly helps to have someone like Rosington who is very aggressive style. Because if you're getting someone who's a bit more defensive, it's going to be a lot harder for them to get settled while playing aggressively. So I always try and find people that are very aggressive, or when we go to training, I train them to become aggressive. That's something I always try and do. I've done it successfully with a few players. You know, some players might get further than others in that space, but it really depends on the player at the end of the day. That is very close, but it is missing leg. Yeah. Might put Emerson Westbrook up an extra notch. Shot. But yeah, 20 over cricket, one day cricket to a lesser extent, you sort of have to play your shots from the go. But that's like 20 over cricket in real life. There's no real time to get settled. You can still get settled by playing at... I like to at least one very defensive player in the test, as I like to bat long. True. And that's just a personal preference. It really depends on how you want your team constructed. Let's look at the Australian team, for example. Warner obviously isn't there anymore, but they've got Smith up the order now. So they've got Khawaja and Smith who opens. Khawaja's, you know, a bit more of a defensive player in his approach. Still plays his shots when ball's there to be hit. Westbrook's past 50 now, forgot to say that. But, you know, Smith will... We don't know what kind of opener he's going to be yet. He's only played a few handful of innings. And then you got Labuschagne, who's sort of in the average aggression range. Cam Green's a bit more of a defensive player. And then you got Travis Head, who is very aggressive and likes to push the initiative a bit more. So it really depends on what your preference is, how you like to play. But you can still, those very aggressive players can still shut up shop and play very defensively. They just probably won't do it as successfully. But yeah, they're all just preferences. But that doesn't necessarily mean they're not good at their job. Oh, I've accidentally put that on no highlights. Whoopsie. Also, bro, I've seen this a few times that player styles will be very defensive in white ball, but he'll have a strike rate of 160. That is possible. And what analysis can I make about those players? So I've got a very good example. So that player that I was talking about earlier that I signed, the all-rounder who averaged 66 in second 11 cricket. With his training, I was able to train him to be very aggressive in first class, but I couldn't up his aggression anymore, so he's currently defensive in limited overs cricket. So I think his 2020 strike rate is 140, 150, I can't remember, but it's in and around that range. But I think player ability has a lot to do with that as well. If the player is really good, the player's going to score more freely. Just because they have a defensive trait doesn't mean they're naturally... Like it says, Westbrook has a average aggression. Yes, he's played 2 test matches, but I wouldn't say 42 is average in terms of strike rate. 148 strike rate in 5 T20s. I wouldn't say that's average either. I'd say both of those are above average. So it really depends on the player's ability, is what I would say about that. But it is interesting when some players sort of go against what... why do I keep doing this? I think I'm playing my South Africa save. Westbrook's just gotten out. Fantastic. I think I'm going to push the issue a little bit here. I know we're only 100 runs behind, but I'm going to try and push the issue a little bit. See what we can do. Because there is also, if you play more aggressively and they hit a lot more boundaries, they are going to get settled more quickly than if they're just poking and prodding the ball around a lot of the time. Obviously, there's risk in that, but that just depends on how you play. Pip is out. So you mean aggression doesn't matter as long as player stats back that he is a good player. With a large sample size, he is good to go. In essence, that is what I'm saying. But if you're if you're going to sign a player, for example, if you're playing this save file and you look at a player that has a strike rate of 150 in 20 over cricket, but he averages 25 with the bat, but then you have a guy who averages 35 with the bat, but his strike rate's only 130, I'd still probably sign the guy who averages 35, even though his strike rate is lower, just because he's the better player. And occasionally he will have an innings where he goes above that 150 strike rate. But it really depends on what you're after. But I always go off, can the player score runs? If so, I want that player. It really doesn't matter how he scores the runs, just as long as he does. Obviously, if he's, a bit of a liability at scoring very quickly, then, that's the kind of thing you stay away from. But I really think as long as the player can score runs, there's nothing really staying in that player's way from doing it at a faster pace. That's when the aggression bars come in. Because you got to remember that a lot of those stats are stats that the player has before you got in control of them. So you might... I think these batting preferences are when the computer or the AI takes over a player, like if you're an opposition player. Whereas if you take them over yourself, you can sort of tinker that yourself. So that's what I think anyway. Doesn't mean I'm right, but that's just my thoughts anyway. Doing well at the moment, 214 for 7. And as soon as I say we're doing well, we lose a wicket. like. And do you think changing player position doesn't matter in any format? I think it matters a little bit. I do always prefer having a player that is trained in a certain position to play in that position. I know that's out. I know in the newer games, whoops, that's not what I want to do. Oh, they do have it here. They have the batting lineup preferences. So first class 10, number 11 for the one day is T20, number 11. I don't think that matters too much because that changes all the time. Let's just say if they're a wicketkeeper who you want to train into an opener, I think that matters a little bit. I don't know how much it affects performance, but I like to think it matters. I think we're going to be a few runs behind at the end of the first innings, which is a little bit unfortunate. 9 for 228 at the moment. I really haven't been paying much attention to the game. I've been answering all these questions, which I don't mind doing at all, Kartik. Don't think that it's bothering me, because it's not. But I've not really been paying that too much attention to the game. It's sort of been on in the background. I've sort of been clicking away doing stuff. But we are all out for 231. Kent lead by 37. Westbrook, the only first innings half century with 80. Played some good shots all around the ground, mainly behind square leg and through the covers. But another half century, averaging 75 nice and early. I like the look of it. Like to increase my batting depth, I like to use a player whose preferred position is 5 or 6 at 8 and 9. And wicketkeeper whose preferred opening position is at 6. I really don't think that matters too much, I'll be honest. No, don't worry about it. It doesn't bother me. But I really don't think the batting positions worry too much unless you're an opener or a bowler. Like I wouldn't put a bowler above 8. I wouldn't put an opener anywhere below 3. The wicket keepers and all-rounders and middle order players can bat anywhere in that section. But yeah, we should take Kent's wickets fairly easily. We've got a bit of cloud cover coming into the next day in a bit. But keep the conversation coming, Kartik. I'm all for the conversation. I am all for it. We'll play with a bit more of a conventional field setting in this innings. We get the first wicket. Bell Drummond is gone. He's out for 1. Sanderson gets the first wicket. Thought we were going to get 2 in the over. I was getting excited. Joe Denley's a decent player. Obviously a test player at one point in time. I don't think he's in the test team anymore. He's not in the test team anymore. I know that for a fact. All good, Kartik. Glad you've had a good time, and I will see you next time, mate. Take care. Okay, there's a play and miss, but actually no, it's been given out. It's been given out. Okay, we're going to continue on. Got to get these 10 wickets fairly quickly. We've just been lofted into the stands. And that's a good shot by Crawley. Swinging back in, not to be. Good movement by Hutton though. Sanderson to Crawley now. It's a good shot off the back foot. Why am I got the highlights on medium? I want them on low. I don't want to see all the boundaries. I only want to see the chances and the wickets. That's all I want to see from Kent. That was a play and miss. Bit of an appeal behind the stumps. I think with the pitch spinning, we've got to go to the spinners. Westbrook and Pip is where I'm going. I'm trusting in them to take the wickets we need. And they've been smashed all round the park. Crawley and Kuhn, I believe that's how you say it. Kuhn have both passed half centuries. The end of day 2. Here we go, Westbrook to Kuhn. I'm trusting in the spinners. There's a play and miss. Pip now to Crawley. There we go, take a wicket. He's gone for 70. I knew if I stuck with the spinners for long enough, they would take a wicket. Alright, the lead's past 200 now. The ball is 43 overs old. We go back to the opening bowlers. Actually, we'll give it to Muzarabani. We'll see what he can do. That's very close to being out. Ooh, no. Hutton has been expensive. That is not out. That one's out. There we go. Finally get another wicket. Kuhn's gone for 98. We might just put a little bit more of a defensive field in place, just so we're not leaking as many runs. Whoops. Hutton to Stevens now. Old man Stevens. Play miss. Put Sanderson back on. He's been one of our best bowlers this season. And we'll go back to Pip. Pip to leaning. Jeez, that's pitched way outside leg. He's missed everything. No. I feel... I'm getting a little bit nervous about the run chase now. Getting close to 300. Stevens goes for 27. Sanderson's got 2. I'm going to take him off at the end of the over. So I want him fresh for the new ball. We'll go to Westbrook. We'll go double spinners until the new ball is available. Hopefully they can take some wickets. No. 278 for 5. Westbrook to Billings. That's pitching outside leg. That's not out. That's close as well. No, that's not it. Missing. Yes, we will take the new ball. Muzarabani to Sanderson. The lead's getting close to 400 now. We just cannot get these guys out. I say that, we take a wicket. Fantastic. Leang's gone for 88. We're into the tail. Oh, drop catch. That was a tough chance, though. That was a tough chance. That's not out. Leads over 400. That's out. Henry in. Matt Henry? It's going down leg. That's missing. Jeez, he's hit some boundaries in this over. Billings is really teeing off up the other end. We might have to go ultra defensive to him. Got to try and slow him down somehow. I don't care if Henry hits boundaries, but we can't afford to have Billings just teeing off. There we go, that's out. There we go, Henry's gone for 20. Ken have declared. Bat for the draw is what we're going to do. Bat for the draw. Tuscan has not had a good match. Fairclough, he scored in this one, which is great. And he's caught. He is actually terrible. We just got to bat. Actually, is it going to rain? It's just cloudy. It's not going to rain. We just got to bat time. If we're not going to get the runs, we don't have the players to do it. So I'm just going to bat time and pray that we get a draw. I know it's boring, but I do not see an alternative for us to get a result out of this game. Levi's hit. He did not need to play that shot. He goes for 16. Bunker and Westbrook are our best hope. Bunker is scoring strike rate at 50. We don't necessarily need that right now. Slow down, cowboy. Okay, we get through to lunch. We've got to get through to tea now. The play and miss, our first highlight for a while. Bunker's out for 54. He scored his runs, but it's not necessarily what we need right now. Westbrook's missed a straight one. He's gone. It's okay. We're about halfway there. We've also lost half our wickets. There's an edge that's gone down to fine leg. It'll be 4. That's out. Into the tail. I don't know who I trust. We just got one session to bat with 4 wickets remaining. See, the problem with Pip is he's very aggressive. He's just going to go and just do his own thing. We get through to tea. We've got to get through to the end of the game. We are almost there. There's an hour and a half to go. Pip's almost made a half century doing this, which is crazy. We've batted 108 overs for 227 runs. It's 45 minutes to go. 4 wickets in hand. Pip's hit it down the ground. I think that's his 50. It is his 50. 20 minutes to go, 15 minutes to go, 3 overs, 2 overs. We've done it. We've drawn the match. Oh, that was not enjoyable. Not enjoyable, but we survived. Probably assign our training, which we haven't done yet. Let's just send general technique for Pip, general technique for Westbrook. Fairclough, just go to batting practice. For the love of God, we don't have any physio? We don't have the budget for physio? General technique to Bunker. Wicket keepers can go to catching practice. Levi, go to batting practice. And then Sanderson, go to bowling technique. Actually, no, go to bowling practice. I changed my mind. But I'm going to call it there, guys. We've had a bit of a shorter stream this time around. Very enjoyable to get this one done. We got one match out of the way. We did help Kartik out with his cricket captain issues that he's been having. So, but if you are looking for help with cricket captain in the future, feel free to leave a a comment on this video once the stream is done, so I can have a look. And if you have any Cricket Captain inquiries, I will direct you to the playlist that I have on my channel. I might be adding to that playlist in the future, so just keep an eye out on that. But thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I hope you've had a great time, and I'll catch up with you next time for some more Cricket Captain action. See you guys then.